will, as a manager, as a leader, be leading a team mixed of humans and agents. But just like in the all-human workforce, you had to understand how this role played with that role so that there was a complement versus a cancel out. We need to reserve space and time to approach AI's entrance in our workplace in the same mode. Don't spend time being so connected with everybody in the organization. Don't think about the from stem to stern, how you manage, as you start to get in more leadership positions, pay attention to your bench, pay attention to who you're reporting to as a means of focus. And I think that has its merit, but I honestly feel in leadership roles, and particularly today when you have 4 generations, maybe sometimes 5, of young people starting, needing mentorship, connection, understanding kind of what the mission and the some reason for the business is to be, that it's now that idea of staying in leadership and staying connected from top to bottom is crucial. Broadly speaking, women connect in different ways. And one of the most powerful ways that I see women connect is through what I would say is like that human sense of storytelling. Let me hear your story. Let me hear your journey. Let me understand. What is something that you had an issue with and that you've unpacked and then you've maybe solved, or you're still looking for help to solve? Like that's an incredible space for women to hold and learn from and support each other. The diversity of women, their mindsets, their ability to understand and talk, their empathy and conversation, that's a superpower. So let's lean into it. Let's incubate it, create spaces for it. We don't live in it all the time, but have a moment of respite and then tap out and go hit the rest of the world. In smaller companies, so Chief is 130 team members, and we have across the country, and we have it in clubhouses, we have in the office. It's walking around, it's talking, it's having meetings, it's stopping by, it's even that chit chat in the coffee room. Those are like micro touches that are so very important for people to understand that leadership, while I'm not maybe in somebody's work plan, I understand, see, there's a human connection there. I think part of the issues of return to office being so vilified in some way, I can understand the balance. We have balance at Chief as well. You're missing those micro moments. You're missing those micro moments of just conversation and shared humanity, in addition to that sort of more formalized mentoring that happens when somebody says, hey, can you take a look at this? What do you think about this? Can I give an opinion? And so I try to make an effort to stay connected to everybody that I can, that I see. And the size of Chief allows me to be able to do that. Root yourself in the consumer experience. And for Chief, that is the member experience. And that is put yourself in the shoes of the member and think about, what is required for senior women leaders today, recognizing that it may not be what's required tomorrow. And then that sense of being close enough to what's happening on the ground and getting the right kind of feedback and querying and actually leading with curiosity, this organization, that becomes like a North Star and a compass for you to run the organization. Stability and agility are the name of the game, and they're not always in the same dance. And I think that all comes down to leadership. So the stability piece, I think it's incredibly incumbent upon leaders to set the culture, the tone. Everyone has the commonality of AI disrupting, but everyone has the commonality of like the economic uncertainty. And so in those kind of cases, in your own organization, prioritizing stability, not only for your own, balance, but also for your team's balance, I think is incredibly important. From that stability comes planning, thoughtfulness, foresight that has to lend itself to achieving outcomes. And even in the point where you need to pivot or make a change or react, I'd rather be doing that from a stable base of calmness than chaos. I think the definitions for work environment agility have changed so rapidly in the last few years, and the introduction of AI has been a huge factor in that. And so keeping an agile environment across multiple complexities in business structures, I mean, not everything is AI native, right? That's the small amount. Most of these businesses are handling what is a legacy business of most likely driving a ton of revenue out of that as they share shift into the next. And that shift can be bumpy, messy, and have fraught with mistakes. But the journey continues because that's where the puck's going for a business. And I think that is an agile mind, an agile mindset in terms of how you lead teams, how you allow them to operate and with some level of autonomy and agency is just paramount. Undoubtedly, AI is reshaping our current workforce as we speak. You will, as a manager, as a leader, be leading a team mixed of humans and agents. But just like in the all-human workforce, you had to understand how this role played with that role so that there was a complement versus a cancel out in order to get the best outcomes. We need to reserve space and time to approach AI's entrance in our workplace in the same mode. It is really around the leadership challenges, like how do I understand and value the workforce that I have, and then create in the duality of it new opportunities that are above and beyond what I could have seen to begin with. I am consistently obsessed over the health and wellness of my team as a unit. How can I keep this culture feeling good, feeling purposeful, feeling a little fun? We can have some fun. And an inclusive environment in a world that is right now increasingly looking to be more and more narrow. Our, mission is to expand the possibilities for women's power. So hopefully that also ignites anyone that comes to work here. But then we as leaders, it's our responsibility to kind of keep that environment feeling aligned with those. We have core values that the company is connected to that in many ways is around how we operate as a team. And so we as senior leaders need to imbue and embody those values. But then it's also because we have a membership base and there's a symbiosis between the two. Really keeping that same sort of tone and tenor and culture expanding into our membership base is important too. And that's a balance. I am somebody that personally loves the idea of disruption, but I hold a strong desire to have pragmatism while the disruption is going on, which is a very hard thing to achieve. You can't be on your heels these days in business, and actually it's at your peril. So for me, staying atop of disruption is interesting to see. If you have a couple clicks forward, who's doing something different? Where is that new idea starting? What's a kernel of something that I should log in the back of my head to kind of keep in mind, and then start to think about, is this relevant? Is this not relevant to my business? And that's where disruption is one thing, but innovation is another, right? And I tend to kind of circle around innovation with, I read, being informed by what are the disruptive principles, balanced by what's the pragmatism of how the business runs, and where can I find that spot of trying some new things, not holding myself completely hostage by the old way of doing things, but not being in some ways business reckless wise by chasing disruption all the time. The most effective ways to drive to the top in some ways is really about keeping curious, opening networks, thinking broadly outside of just the only path that you're in. No matter where somebody is in their path or journey, it is keep agile, upskilling, network, open the door to more conversations, more inputs and learning, I think, and then take it and act. And I think, but that when you are in a room full of ambitious women, and this is what Chief delivers, ambition begets ambition. And, and not in a way that's because nobody's directly competing, everyone's ambitious. It's an energy of ambition. And those are the teams, those are the women in your core group or in the chief meetings that are encouraging you, take that step, write that email. Let me help you. Let me connect you, push you and ask you, keep you accountable. The next time you show up and see them, did you do that? Did you go for that job? And I love that energy of ambition with curiosity and inclusion and kindness. The C-suite of the future is going to have to be incredibly multidexterial, has to think fast, responsive, a lot of self-learning on your own to kind of have familiarity and understand impact to technology that you didn't have to do before. And it's moving so fast. I think there's going to be a more of a flattening of organizations in the sense of less hierarchical motion and more distributed thinking around your teams. But you are going to have to be the dot connector for all of it.